is the removal of the uterus. It involves separating the attachments of the round ligament, fallopian tube, ovarian ligament, broad ligament, uterine vessels, and uterosacral ligaments. Surgical clamps are placed across both uterine cornu and the anatomic structures inspected. The round ligament is suture ligated and cut using electrocautery. This opens the broad ligament. The anterior leaf of the broad ligament is undermined and cut to enable the bladder to be safely pushed away from the surgical site. The opposite round ligament is clamped and cut, opening the broad ligament on this side and allowing the entire vesico-uterine peritoneum to be incised. The posterior leaf of the broad ligament is opened with electrocautery, providing for isolation of the fallopian tube and ovarian ligament. After cutting the pedicle, the distal end is ligated, first with a simple tie and followed by a suture ligature. The proximal end remains clamped. The opposite side is treated the same. This enables the bladder to be reflected further away from the surgical field. The uterine vessels are skeletonized and clamped, taking care to avoid the ureter. The opposite side is treated the same. The bladder is then further advanced. Clamps are placed in a stepwise fashion down along the edge of the cervix on both sides, clamping, cutting, and suture ligating until the junction of the vagina is reached. Care is taken to avoid injury to the bladder and the ureters, all of which are relatively close to the surgical site. Clamps are then placed across the uterosacral ligaments, completing the isolation of the uterus. The final attachments are cut and the uterus is removed. The vaginal cuff where the uterus had been attached is inspected for bleeding or bladder injury. Corner sutures are put in both lateral vaginal corners, securing the blood supply and the cardinal ligaments for later vaginal support. Figure of 8 sutures are used to close the remainder of the vaginal cuff. Sutures supporting the cardinal ligaments are tied together for upper vaginal support, and irrigation fluids used to cleanse the pelvis before closing the abdomen.